Hey guys, welcome to the podcast. I got to be down here low because Fish yells at me when I get too loud. And we just want to, before we get into the podcast today, we want to talk about our sponsor this month. Our sponsor is a returning sponsor and good friends at Figurosity. Figurosity.com is a website where you can go and check out their custom-made 3D models of all body shapes, styles, dressed, undressed, different body shapes, ninja weapons, dancing, whatever. And you can do your figure drawing right from the website. It is free to a certain extent, and then there's also a paywall that allows you access to more content. You can change the angle of the camera on the model. You can change the lighting. It's a phenomenal website, great stuff, great way to hone your art skills. And also, because Figurosity is great people, they gave us a coupon code. And when I said, well, what is the coupon code? They said, how about Chicken Smuggler? And I'm like, great, let's do that. So the coupon code this month is Chicken Smuggler. Will get you $5 off your purchase, which essentially is a free month because it's a little over $5 a month. So thank you to Figurosity for giving our listeners a free month of online 3D modeled figure drawing. And so make sure you check it out, Figurosity.com. And now let's get into the podcast. Yeah. All right, welcome back, Inebri-ites. This is Andy of the Inebri-art podcast, and we are back again at the Mayflower Brewery recording, talking to all types of creative people, as always. And we brought in AJ Hapenny.
Howdy.
A stand-up comedian. We've had stand-ups on before, so we figured we'd get another one. It's been a while. So, AJ, how does one decide, and at what age does one decide that you can make people laugh for money?
Well, I got into it the same way I got into porn. I was tricked.
You were tricked?
Yeah, I originally didn't want to do it, but then all of a sudden there's microphones in my face.
So you got off a bus in New York, and you want to be like, I'm going to be a star.
Hey, you're going to be a star, kid. You're going to be in pictures. And growing up, when my folks got divorced, like when I was about 10. I was living with my mom for a little bit, on the weekends, and then I saw the Comedy Central specials.
Oh, okay.
And just Harlan Williams was absolutely my favorite guy.
I'm not even sure if I knew who Harlan
he was. You might know him from Dumb and Dumber. He was the cop, and he's just like, oh, you're doing a little there booze in there.
Oh, yeah. He was also in a Periscope with Kelsey Grammer.
He was in Periscope, I believe, and he was also in Superstar. And, and several films. And growing up, I was a shy kid, and just seeing him just like, hey there, little fella, fine fella, you.
Yeah.
And just like, wow, I really want to be Harlan Williams.
So was it an immediate thing that you at that point, you were like, I want to be a stand-up? Or
I wouldn't say it was immediate. Like, I always thought of doing bits and just writing a little bit, but I never thought I could actually do it. And so I grew up later on. I did a lot of slam poetry and had to be comedic, and I never thought it would actually lead me to actually doing stand up because I didn't know how to really get into it. Up until like maybe one day I entered into a contest. I didn't win, but they said, "Hey, you were the funniest guy on there.
Right?
Do you want to open for our comedian a month from now?" Yeah, absolutely. And then it turned out to be Jim Brewer, who was also co-star with Harlan Williams in Half Baked.
Yep.
And I was just ecstatic, and I was on a high at that level. Like, I would compare it to there was this classic video game called Castlevania, and it was for PlayStation.
Of course.
And level 1, you have all the powers.
Yeah.
Like, you have all the powers, and then level 2, you lose all your powers, and then you start over.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how I felt when I realized, hey, I got booked on a second show, and I did awful on that one. I'm like, okay, I don't know what to do from here.
So you kind of had like this great start, and then it was kind of like in hockey they call it the sophomore slump, where you're like, oh shit, what now? That kind of thing.
Yeah, like your freshman year is amazing. You're scoring all these goals. You're a young buck, and then all of a sudden,
this is easy.
and I'm just like, oh, ow, I'm starting to ache.
I'll have a sitcom like next year.
I'm just like, yeah. When I first started out, I'm like, I'm gonna have an HBO special. I'm gonna be in a movie with The Rock in 5 years, and now today is actually my 5th year in comedy. I'm thinking, well, maybe they'll let me on a cruise ship.
Yeah,
maybe
nice.
they'll let me bust their tables.
So, I listen to a lot of stand-ups, and they're always talking about minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever. When you're writing a bit, do you write it gearing towards kind of like, okay, this is my 5 minutes, and then if I'm going to do 10 minutes, I add these additional jokes? Like, how do you kind of work around that?
Well, it depends on the sets that you're doing. When you're writing a bit, you try not to think of it minute wise until after it's sort of finalized or in a semi rough finalized form.
Yeah.
Now, if you're booked on a spot to do 5 minutes, okay, here's what I typically do. But then I'm going to throw in this minute bit somewhere, take this out, so it adds up close to 5, while obviously accounting for laughter. Unless it's a bar show, then you can just count on it. To just like going straight the 5 minutes. But it always depends on the set that I'm doing. Like if they're having me feature, if they're having me headline, then I can play around with the stuff that I just wrote.
Right.
But if they're just throwing me on for 5, or if I'm trying to prove myself in a club, I'll just go back to the 5 that I typically go to.
Right. And like I have kids, and I remember when my kids first learned they could make people laugh. It was with like one joke, and then they just tell that joke over and over and over and over and over again, and to the point where you're like, it's just not funny. But you have to do that night in and night out. So how do you keep it sounding fresh, like you almost like you just thought of it, opposed to like I've said this 600 times.
No, that's an excellent point. Now, like, because like, oh, okay, if I say this again, it'll be just as funny, if not funnier.
Right.
I deal with that a lot at this place called the Red Nun, which is the most
Is that down the Cape?
Yep.
Yeah, I've heard of that place.
Yeah, which is the most regular room I do. I do it twice a month, and a lot of the same people go.
Oh wow! So that's gonna be really difficult.
Oh yeah. So I either have to tell a completely different 8-minute set, or I just have to switch it around a little bit. Like one example, like when my ex broke up with me, and then I realized that it was final when the Netflix password was changed. The week after that, I might change it to Hulu password or WWE.
Right.
But it's similar to like Tom Petty when they said, like, how can you play Free Falling for 30 freaking years? It just like have to be the same thing. And then Tom Petty says, well, I play it like it's the first time I'm playing it for people.
Right.
And doing that every single time. Like some of the stuff that I've been doing for 4 years is still funny to me, but I still constantly like rework and still.
And it's going to be
the
first time that someone in the room's heard it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I got to headline for the first time in my hometown, and most of 50 people in the room, most of the people there like haven't seen me do comedy before.
Are these people you know? Was that harder?
A lot of them were people I know. And there was a lot of people that say like, I'm gonna come see you. Then they've been telling me that for like 4 or 5 years, and then finally they're seeing me at this show.
Oh, you're practically in my living room. Now I'll come see you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then like they'll say like, you over for Lenny Clark in Kingston. Well, if only you were in my neighborhood. Oh, so you could not go to that too? You monster.
So at what point did you feel like this was the right fit, that you could make a career out of it, and kind of...
Well, when that happens, I'll let you know. No, when it started paying some of my bills.
Yeah.
And then this year, comedy actually paid my rent and then some.
Oh, nice.
So my goal, obviously, one day is to have it pay all my bills.
Right.
And I co-own this company called Paperback Comedy. And last year we probably booked about 5 or 6 regular rooms. Now it's just one, but we're regularly doing a bunch of private events.
Yeah.
And right now I'm trying to focus a little bit on myself because I've focused mainly on the business.
Yep.
But I'm trying to be a little selfish and just focus on myself just so I can feature anywhere. And
so is this kind of like you getting function rooms and whatnot in restaurants and bars, and then you kind of like bring in the comedians and
Yep.
So you're basically
that's
creating your own
model.
scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in a way, because Cape Cod has a demand for it because there's hardly a scene,
right?
If anything, and then there was maybe like 1 or 2 bookers on there. Now there's up to 12.
Yeah, and
I'm getting booked on other people's shows on Cape, which whenever I could do a show in Cape Cod, it's always an honor for me because it's the homestead,
right? Yeah, it's an easy, well, not necessarily easy. Depends on where it is and where you station.
Oh, sure. But Cape Cod definitely needs it, and I'm glad the Red Nun is building a reputation. And we're starting to get some kick-ass headliners coming in and asking to get on. Like, yeah.
Do you feel like there's kind of a resurgence, like in the '80s, the comedy scene with like there were comedy clubs everywhere,
yep.
and then it died off. Like, why do you think it's starting to come back?
Well, ultimately with social media pumping up,
yeah,
and a lot of people more show up to the pop-up shows. Now, as you pointed out, in the '80s, that's when you had the boom of comedy clubs, absolutely everywhere. But with a lot of short attention span,
yeah,
that's just like, okay, there's a show that's popping up right here. I will go to that, and like other than Red Nun, of course, like that's generally what I've been doing,
right?
And like there are some companies that like sell tickets to a show in a town, but then don't announce the venue until that morning.
Oh, really?
And a lot of people love that aspect.
Huh. You know, and we do. Well, we don't quite do that, but when we run our art events, you know, people are like, "Oh, you should do this every week," and I'm like, "No," because then it loses some of the special. And
how often do you do it?
We just our figure drawings. We just went to twice a month, but before that was once a month.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, if you didn't get it...
So you're already up. You're already building it.
Oh, yeah. And it was one of those, well, if you don't get in, you have to wait a month.
Mm-hmm.
So people made it a point. They scheduled it. They worked it into the schedule. If you did it every week, then people were like, I'll go to the next one. You know, and then they kind of just drop off the face of the earth because it kind of loses some of the special.
It was Carol Lee, who does Carol Lee's Comedy Corner.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the first paid shows that I did in 2014. And she used to, like you said, you used to run a show every single month, or like every single week until, like you're saying,
right.
Hey, I'll go to the next one right afterwards. Now she has it once a month, and it's always something special.
Yeah,
I like it like every time she has a show, and on particular ones that's kind of what I try to do the same thing on pop-up shows, like Billy Corrigan,
mm-hmm.
From Smashing Pumpkins. I'm a big fan of him. I'm a big fan of Smashing Pumpkins, and he bought the wrestling company NWA, National Wrestling Alliance.
Oh, okay.
Now he does like a lot of that same music aspect of doing pop-up shows, because understandably so.
Yeah.
People's attention span of that, and he's doing like pop-up wrestling shows.
Oh, no kidding.
Which people have been really getting into.
Yeah.
So as long as you're adapting,
right,
with it, then pretty much any legal form of entertainment can be on the rise. And comedy, I feel now, with all the Netflix specials coming out, comedy is the hottest it's ever been.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely feel like the Netflix thing is helping a lot.
Oh, sure. So some would say that there's often too much, like back in the 80s, there's too much comedy clubs. But at least there's enough, and people can indulge it.
Yeah.
Because when I was growing up, we had Comedy Central Friday nights, and that was it. But now you can pop up and you can.
When I was a kid, there was like the half-hour comedy hour. There was VH1 Spotlight. There was HBO. Obviously, had they started, I think, the trend of the comedy special, and it was all the time.
That they did.
So you said you have your minutes, whatever, and you try to work around it to keep it fresh. But when you're writing new material, like, where do you start? Like, well, let me ask you this: What kind of comic are you?
It's
A prop comic?
If I was a prop comic, I would get hired a lot more, and my peers would hate me a lot more than they already do.
Yeah, that's weird.
Just carrot top. Kevin Driscoll, he's more of a puppet comic. I'm a big fan of the guy. And then I guess you could say like magicians are kind of prop comics too.
Kind of, yeah.
Skip Daniels, Prince of Mystery is a guy that I hire regularly.
I've never heard it. Like when you say magicians, I think Amazing Jonathan.
Oh, see, Amazing Jonathan, thought he was going to die like 5 years ago, and then all of a sudden he's walking again.
I'm older than you.
It's amazing. No, but Skip I like a lot. I consider myself more of a situational comedy kind of guy. When I was first coming up, I was doing impressions for a little while, but then they were kind of I was getting like the hackiness from the community, which understandably so. But now I just do impressions of people I've met.
Yeah.
Because it's original. It's not something that they can take away. Like anyone.
They can be like, that didn't sound like that guy.
Yeah, exactly. And just like, oh, I know Vlad. He just sounded nothing like that.
Yeah.
And just like, nobody.
I feel like impressions you have to do spot on or not at all.
Mm-hmm. Like Drew Dunn is from New Hampshire. Won Boston Comedy Festival a couple of years ago. He's absolute beast. He does spot on celebrity impressions, but he only does impressions of maybe it's someone that's German or just somebody that he knows, and I absolutely admire that aspect about it. But I would say situational, doing voices of people I know, doing stuff at work, heartbreak. I don't think you can compare my comedy to like someone else really, just because I'm all over the place.
Yeah. And now, do you work blue or do you kind of
I actually
clean?
Most of the shows I do, I actually work clean.
Yeah.
But believe it or not, because most of the times that I get hired, they ask for PG or PG-13.
Oh, okay.
And I rely on this my business partner Ed Waugh, because I know he can work clean too. So it's usually me, him, and a couple other guys that can work clean. But I take joy in the ones that like, oh yeah, you could do 18. Well, like the way that I advertise it is PG, PG-13, 18 plus rather than R, because people would think R, they're like dicks,
right,
and just like vaginas and the fuck word coming out. But
just
18 plus, I have it be vague, and if it's 18 plus, then I can let loose.
Yeah,
and that's the joy I'm on. But the ones I'm going to make the most amount of money on are the ones that are.
So is there more
shows.
demand for kind of clean comedy?
Yeah, unfortunately, yes.
Like I wouldn't think that at all. That's funny.
Well, like a lot of people don't want to hear the cussing.
Yeah,
I get it, but like when you go to a comedy club, that's what you're gonna hear.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna cuss, at least have your cusses mean something.
Yeah.
And in turns, be like fuck, and just like and have the F word in like 3 times in one sentence and not have it lead to a punchline at all.
Right.
Because there's one person that booked me, and they're saying, we saw your clean clip, but we went to this place called Headliners, and they were talking about all this other sex stuff. And I'm like, well, I'm a big fan of Headliners.
Yeah.
I love the people that run it, but if that's not what you want, I will book the kind of level of show that you want.
Right.
And as long as you tell them that there's actual comedy there, so it's a consensual comedy show.
Right.
Because nobody likes surprise talking in somebody's face.
Yeah, it's like I have friends that play like cover music at bars, and even that sometimes doesn't go over great because people are trying to watch a game or just
sure.
And I can't
games
imagine.
Have killed me. I imagine games have killed your friends.
Oh yeah, all the time. A lot of bars, especially here in Plymouth, will, if it's a playoff game, they'll cancel you. They'll just flat out cancel you. Be like, sorry.
Oh, the playoff games. I have lost rooms because of playoff games.
Oh yeah.
And but luckily some of them have let me back. But
because that's not really your fault. I mean,
not necessarily, but because you're the face of it.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
You're seeing it as just like, oh, it's your fault. You can't compete with the Bruins.
Yeah, you're like, it's the World Series and they haven't won in 86 years. How's that my fucking fault?
I'm just like, you're such a monster. You piece of shit. Get out of here.
So you must have bombed.
Never. I
never
bombed. No,
wow, you're the one guy?
No. Like every open mic I do, I'm pretty sure I bomb at every single open mic I do.
Are you more likely to try new material with those?
Oh, well, like for comedians, the majority of the stuff that you do at an open mic, you want to be new material because you're playing around with that every single time. Now, if you're a comic, sometimes you try to do 2 and 3 in one night.
Yeah.
Luckily, generally you have to go to Boston to do that.
Yeah.
Or you have to go to New York and Providence, Rhode Island. Luckily, the way that I hack it while still on Cape is they have a Tap City or Tap Bar in Plymouth. And then I'll start off with that. I'll have myself go first. And then I'll do BBC. Or right afterwards. And a lot of comics, I tell them, do some music open mics. Because you'll get some fresh faces. And
you do the Middle Street BBC on Wednesday nights? That one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I was doing that more when Hollis was running it.
Yeah.
But I still like that room a lot.
Yeah.
And I still get to play around. But when you're doing an open mic with just comics, it's like strippers watching other strippers.
Right.
It's just like, oh, I have big tits. Like, why should I be impressed by those breasticles?
Yeah.
But I feel with a music open mic, you get a little more real our audience.
Yeah.
And like you tend to get a little more hecklers, as some of the musicians will be like, "Oh, I'm helping by yelling out." Like, no, Ralph Wiggum, you're not helping at all. And then I mainly have to do that BBC. Just like yelling shit out. I'm just like, thanks. I wasn't looking for notes, but okay.
Yeah. Why do people heckle? Because it seems like every show, every comedian at least gets like one.
Oh, sure, but they see it as like, this guy is talking, so this is like a conversation.
He's talking to me.
Exactly. Like this is about me now.
Yeah.
And you always get like one, but whenever I get one, I'm not gonna make him feel like he should kill himself. I just try to make him feel like a little silly. Yeah. For saying stuff.
Right.
And then that's pretty much it. There was the set I headlined at Kane and Riley's. There was this one table that was just heckling every comedian, and then it was waiting to go up. And then I wasn't terribly mean, but like some guy was like, "Vrr, vrr." I'm like, "Thanks, Pearl Jam." They all looked like a '90s shitty rock band. And then
I'm going to take issue with that. Being a kid of the 90s.
You were going to defend every single band of the 90s?
Not all of them. A few. Shut up.
You're going to defend Creed right now?
Creed was not in the 90s.
Creed was 98.
I know. Shut up. You don't have to look that shit up. I know it was.
I know years.
In denial. He's looking it up, one asshole.
Here's come here. Yes, sir!
So, before we make fun of how old I am.
How old are you?
44 today.
I'm 32.
Yeah, but, when you're like, oh, Pearl Jam, I'm like, well. So, you've created your own comedy scene.
Mm.
Do you see yourself kind of going on the road and touring? Because I feel like that's kind of...
I'm trying to do a little more of that.
Yeah.
I've been trying to like mentor a little more people so that they can watch my shows. Unfortunately, I'm not at the level right now to be comfortable if I leave a show and have some, unless
that everything's going to run smooth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Unless it's Edouard.
Yeah.
Just because this open mic that I was running with Andy Preddy in New Bedford. Edouard started to go into that a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And then and then after that, we've just been doing shows together. So he knows my style. And he's built a little bit of his own style. I can leave a show with him, and I know I'll be fine.
Right.
But just about anyone else, I feel like, oh, you lost the room. I'm
right.
Like, and even though I feel that some could be fine, but some people know how to run the equipment. Like, you see the soundboard right here.
We don't know how to run that.
well, it looks like Fish knows how to run it.
It looks like it.
I'd say relatively. Like, okay, I need someone that actually knows how to.
We know where the on button
soundboard.
is. Yeah.
No, it was just like even the on, but like so sometimes I'll have it on the exact settings, and it's just like all you have to do is press on. But they're like,
you get a text message being like, now when you say on, you mean like the button on, or
do I turn it on? Do I turn it to tell us his feelings?
Yeah.
Just...
Is there like an area that like you want to get to that you feel is like a hotbed for comedy that you're like, oh, I really want to tour there? Or...
I'd really like to do some more stuff in New York.
Yeah.
Around the region. I've been doing a lot more. Like I got to do a week in Maine, which was pretty fantastic. It was all
really?
longer sets.
You're like, oh, in Maine. I'm like, ooh, comedy hotbed Maine, but like,
believe it or not, comedy is building up in the Maine area.
Wow.
Like I'll be doing the first ever. I'll be doing the first ever Lincoln Comedy Festival in Lincoln, Maine.
Wow. Okay.
And they're trusting me to book it for some reason. but then I'll be doing that. I've done Empire. There's this place in Lewiston called House of Bacon, and it was one of the first place. It was probably the first place that I've headlined, and it's an amazing room.
Yeah,
like they're all there for comedy. They have every weekend there's a show. There's a Friday and Saturday show. And the place is always packed.
Yeah.
And Sam Pelletier runs that. Shout out to Sam Pelletier. Fuck you, Sam. And
that name sounds super familiar.
Yeah, he's a prick. He's an absolute prick. But if you say shout out to him, it cancels out. Shout out to Sam Pelletier.
So that cancels out all the bad things?
Yeah, all the bad things, that angry prick. Shout out to Sam Pelletier.
Right.
But he runs a fantastic room. I love the owners there, and there's always a burlesque show to go afterwards. And the burlesque show always follows afterwards.
Yeah.
And then there's this there's a room called Empire, which I like a lot. And then Mark Turcotte runs Main Event Comedy, which he runs about like 8 different rooms up there.
Yeah.
So in a way, Mark is I feel like I'm trying to be like the Mark of Cape Cod. Yeah, exactly, because he's doing shows that are popping up everywhere.
Yeah.
And if I want to schedule a week of shows 3 months in advance, I can, because there's a lot of stuff to do in Maine.
Yeah.
And we're doing a weekend in Vermont. I'm doing a show maybe like an hour and a half away. They saw my rates and they're saying like, hey, can you do it for this price? I'm like, I can, if you can do it the very next day, because I don't have a show that day.
Oh, I see. So you kind of like, you cut them a little discount because you're kind of like backing it with another show.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, okay.
So it lets me stay up another day.
Yeah,
it makes it worth a trip a while. They're paying what they want to pay me,
right?
And I get to perform for longer and get to do what I love. I get to travel with my friends, do a little snowmobiling.
Nice.
And which I've never done. So I might be dead by the time that this comes out.
That'd be, well, this is going up Monday.
Well, like, I might be dead. Who knows? I might be hit by a Toys R Us truck.
I'll make this agreement. If you kill yourself snowmobiling, we'll put it up again in memoriam.
Just a reshare.
We'll
not even say anything. Yeah. Not even an IRIP. Just hit a reshare.
I'd put like a little like opening, being like, "Hey, remember this guy? Yeah, he's dead."
It was a prick. I love how this is a 58. That's a 48. And what one was this one?
What are we looking at? What are we looking at? I'm lost now.
Yeah, because we got an SM58 right here, SM48. And that
this is also an SM48. We're talking about the microphones.
Yeah, we're all over the place with microphones.
Yeah, that's what you get with secondhand equipment.
I buy my share of microphones secondhand, but
yeah,
you could drop them forever.
That's good, because we're not gentle with them, and we kind of have taken them around. We brought them out to the Martha's Vineyard Beer Festival this past summer, where we both got mildly intoxicated. I mostly remember the ferry ride home. Mostly.
I can imagine people doing karaoke with these and just like, oh, I did an awesome Eminem song.
Bonk.
I'm just going to drop the microphone.
If I was a DJ, that has to be like a really common thing now.
Oh, it very much is.
Yeah.
And then there are people at karaoke that shout, drop the mic. I'm like, come on, man.
That's the worst.
I just like, these cost like at least $100.
Yeah.
I mean, the 48s, I don't know, but the SM58s cost at least $100. And people are just dropping shit. That's why I don't necessarily like to loan out my equipment.
Yeah,
because it never gets returned the same way.
So where you run these rooms, you obviously have to provide the PA system as well.
Oh, sure. I did splurge and get a kick-ass Bose system.
Yeah.
Which is generally like the same ones that you see at a tap room.
Yeah.
Like karaoke rooms, just so it can go from like. It can go anywhere between like 3 people and like 300 people, maybe even 500. And I bought that specifically because we were doing a show for the Air Force.
Yep.
Now, that can fit up to 500 people. There weren't 500 people, but
you have to assume there's going to be.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, like, we're going to give them a show because also with hotels, too, it's like, oh, we got a wireless mic and and they give us that, and then and I sound like Bane. I'm just like, the darkness is,
and it just cuts in and out, and yeah.
And I feel like it's like a shitty karaoke song. And I'm just like singing Phil Collins, like, you remember? Don't worry, how could? And it just cuts out. I don't trust wireless mics.
Yeah.
I prefer the corded, like the one that's in front of my face right now, and
we got that one special for you.
Yeah. And I'm glad you put the 58 in front of my face. That makes me feel special. Now I want to know.
Well, you sat there.
Well, I'm not gonna sit at the one on the computer that which Fish is at.
Yeah.
Just like unless I want to fully control it, but.
What? No, you're not passing your job off to someone else. He wasn't offering to do your job.
It sounded like it.
No, I don't think so.
Come on.
We can't afford him.
You can't afford me.
Just like I charge like a hooker charges. So like I found out like I was like
if you charge like a hooker charges, I'm buying a hooker first.
Oh, I should hope so. No, but like like the 58s, the wired. That's why I like.
Yeah.
I've done other people's microphones, and it literally picks up like radio signals, like it's a transistor radio.
You just run into so many more issues. I mean, if the battery's not great, there's 100.
Oh, I just put in fresh batteries like 30 minutes ago.
Like a week and a half ago, I put in a fresh battery.
Oh God!
I took it right out of my smoke detector.
I took it right out of the Comcast, the speakable one.
So I asked you before, and we didn't really get to it because I got distracted and asked another question. But so, how do you go about writing your material? Like, where do you start?
Well, ultimately, it comes with an idea. Like if I'm at work or I'm driving, the way that I write is I record with my phone.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I'm sitting around, I'll just put an idea if I'm in the middle of something, and I'll write and touch upon it later. Like, it seems that like I'm more inspired to write when I'm in the middle of doing something important.
Okay.
So just like pull aside and like, okay, and I'll write a little something. I'll touch up upon it later. Sometimes I'll write something and I won't look at it for like 6 months.
Yeah.
But sometimes even a couple of years. I'll go back. I'm like, I actually have something here. I can actually use.
Did you ever
this.
go back and be like, "What the fuck? What's I talking about?"
That's most of the stuff. And that's if I can actually read my handwriting.
Yeah,
that looks like Russian calligraphy. But the stuff that I can actually read, it's like, okay, I might have something here. I was doing a bit about playing the game of life on a first date.
Yeah.
With this woman and her 2 children, and like I haven't done this in a couple of years. I can actually work on it, and now it's part of my regular repertoire again.
Yeah.
Because I was able to twist it around. It will workshop it with a couple people and go from there. And now that's one of my bits. And then maybe I'll wake up in the middle of the night. I think there was even a Seinfeld episode on this. Like, wake up in the middle of the night, I'll write something down, look at it, I'm just like, oh, what the hell was I thinking? This was so bad. It's like, I don't think anything I've done from year one, I do now.
So that's just kind of out?
Well, it's just...
Or is it because you got tired of doing it?
I think it's more like none of it was good.
Yeah.
or I consider it good anymore. But people getting bored of their material is probably the biggest part of it ever, because I see a lot of people like their first or second year, and it's like, oh, I do a different set every single time, bro. I just but you can't build up on the stuff if you're not doing this. If you're not doing the same material, and I like seeing people like from year one and not seeing them for a couple years and seeing their material just like tweaked and improved and turn into something like beautiful, like a beautiful dance. And I'm like, wow, that's awesome.
Do you ever get someone that just kind of beats a dead horse and like
Mike Fahey? Yes.
I mean, you didn't have to call him out specifically. You have to give him a shout out.
I didn't. No, I'm not going to. I didn't mean to blurt out his name, but like that's just the first person.
But it's like the same 6 jokes over and over again.
That's if you call them jokes. I used to do a lot of private shows with him. Yeah, and I'm thankful for the time that I've had with him, because watching him, I've learned what not to do, and it's been exponential in the process. And there's certain things I won't do anymore, and there's certain things that Mike Fahey won't do anymore, like funeral gigs.
That's a thing.
It's not supposed to be a thing.
All right, fair enough.
But it was a thing, and they had me host, and I literally got paid $30. And it was sad, but
it just sounds like a horrible idea.
It was in Fall River, and I'm
gonna put that in my will.
But they were doing this to raise money for the headstone, and I'm not getting. They were asking, oh, we should do a moment of silence beforehand. I was like, no, this is already sad. This is already sad enough. Why would we make this sadder?
You should have done the moment of silence like right in the middle of your set. That'd have been.
Oh, well, the whole crowd was silent the whole time, so it pretty much counted as that. And then Mike goes up. He's not getting any laughs, and so he stands up on the chair trying to get attention, and he's wrapping the microphone cord around his neck. And then the mother of the deceased leaves the room crying.
Oh, okay.
And that's how we knew it happened, because I've been asking for weeks. I asked Trevor, I'm like, hey, buddy, how did the guy die? He was like, well, buddy, they won't tell me that. No, we have to know.
Yeah, like, you don't want to be like, oh, here's my cancer joke set.
Exactly.
Wait, what happened?
I'm not going to do a joke about ass cancer when the guy, like, died, even if it was pancreatic cancer.
Right.
But, like, if he died drowning, I'm not going to do jokes about swimming pools. Just Trevor. Just tell me what it is. Oh, but dude, I'm not going to ask. And then the worst thing happened when the mother leaving the room crying, and we knew how it happened, and then I apologized to like the brother. I'm like, yeah, I'm so sorry. We didn't know. I'm sorry. Yeah, suicide is a terrible thing. He's like, no, you didn't die of suicide.
Oh no.
Yep. The old David Carradine way.
Oh man. Which is like a really common, not really common, but it definitely comes up in comedy sets.
Oh, it's definitely more common than I imagined.
Yeah.
Dying of autoerotic asphyxiation, like I didn't see the end of Kill Bill 2, but like
yeah.
But I'm thinking like at this guy's funeral speech, like what are they gonna say? I'm just like, well, he died just how he lived. A jerk off.
At least he died happy. Oh man, that's brutal. That's gotta be. Is that your worst gig? Or how does it get worse than that?
I did a baby shower show 2 months ago.
And that's worse than a funeral?
At least I was getting some laughs, just because of the situations that was happening. But I did this baby shower show on the North Shore, and I wasn't getting any laughs, so they were having me host. So I got off early because I'm like, hey, I get it. And then the second person goes off, and then she gets off early, and the third comic that was supposed to go off just left, and then we just had to go up again. Now with that, it's been a weird year because my uncle passed away, and I'm going to this place. I'm crying, and then I stop crying when I realize I'm like, holy shit, this is the same place I did a baby shower show like 2 months ago.
Oh my god!
Like the same place we're gonna celebrate a life. I died on stage.
Oh boy!
And I'm just like, well played. God. Well played.
Well, at least you see the humor in it. Yeah. So you've mentioned a lot of people. You've given a shout out.
Shout out to Mike Fahey, by the way.
I don't know if that absolves all the things you said about
No. If he died, I'd feel nothing. But
so the comedian community, is it tight knit? I mean, clearly you
there's
all
cliques, like it's high school.
Yeah, but clearly you all give each other shit.
Oh yeah, it's my favorite thing.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be much of a community if we didn't. Probably my closest friends in comedy are gonna be Miguel Perez, Ed Waugh, Tony Capobianco, Sarah Martin, EJ Edmonds. We give each other shit all day. And
is that kind of is that like part of working on material?
That's more on us just shitting on each other. I don't think any of it has actually.
It has no constructive use at all.
No, it's just like you should quit comedy. You should die. And but my mom, when because I would stay with her on the weekends, when she'd see us be mean to my friends and go back and forth, it's like, you guys are so mean. But then seeing us now with like a bunch of other comics, is like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You being a comic, that makes more sense than anything.
I always feel like the only thing better than getting a really good burn on your buddy is to get one on yourself that he was just about to make and take it away from him. Mm-hmm. I've had friends be like, you guys are brutal to each other. I'm like, yeah, why wouldn't we, mate? Like, we're friends. Like, if I wasn't friends with him, I'd be nice to him. And they're like, you're doing friendship backwards. And I'm like, I don't know.
No.
I don't think so.
No, if you're friends with someone, really good friends with them, they should be able to take a joke and vice versa, and they should be able to give it back. Miguel out of the group, he's Latino, so we do a bunch of jokes about that. I'm Filipino, so they're like, oh, you're gonna eat our cat, and I just like, oh, we're gonna let AJ drive, and Ed, he's a fourth Native American, so we call him Elizabeth Warren all the time, and Tony, he's this big jack comedian. And he sounds like he's transitioning genders, and he's just big and jack, and we just call him retard all the time.
So that brings up a really interesting point that was actually even in the news recently. Like, where do you think there should there be a line at all drawn in comedy? Because a lot of people, to me, if you find it offensive, don't listen.
Absolutely.
And recently, Louis C.K. got some shit for some things that he said in a leaked. Someone obviously recorded at a club.
Yep.
But like, I listened to it, and it's just a Louis C.K. bit. It's not like anything. Like, go listen to his other shit. It's pretty much on par with the things that he says.
Now, Louis as a human being, I can't necessarily stand behind. I mean, as far as him,
I was just talking about the bit. I wasn't talking about him personally. But,
I'm leading to that.
Okay.
As far as him jerking off in front of women, it is consensual. Like, all of it was. Like, they'll even admit to that. It's still gross. But I wouldn't say that's not forgivable.
Yeah.
If I found out that like an uncle or like a family member of mine was doing shit like that, I wouldn't talk to him for a while. But eventually, I would still talk to them.
Right.
Now, with Louis, like you're saying, it's not any different than what he was saying. Like, literally 10 years ago, he's doing jokes about rape. And
right.
He's saying the F word, the N word.
Yep.
And
he did a joke about choking a baby to death because it was crying. And, I mean, that's kind of on par with his comedy.
It's, and just like there was a Parkland dad of a victim, and it was just like, yeah, come over here and say that to me and keep it in your pants. And just like, you're not going to go to his club.
Yeah.
You don't seem like the comedy club anyway.
And when I listen to the bit, he kind of like there's a definite like sarcastic tone to the whole thing because he starts off with like, oh, when I was a kid, all we did was party and act like idiots, and these kids are off essentially doing things.
Oh yeah,
and it's a tonal thing. Like,
I am extremely anxious to see a new special from him come out.
Yeah,
because as far as comics, like other than Chappelle, I think he's top of the line.
Yeah,
I think he's absolutely top notch. Does that necessarily mean he's a good human being? No. But I'm going to watch,
right? Because
he is an amazing comic.
Sure.
And the fact that, if you told me, 2 years ago, oh, he was asking a jerk off in front of women, still even then, that's no surprise to me.
No.
Literally, at least 15% of each special he does is about him masturbating.
Right.
And just, that's no surprise.
Yeah.
I mean, does it make it any less gross? No, but it's definitely not unforgivable.
Right.
There was a lot of people, you were bringing up the community earlier, there's a lot of people in the Boston comedy community that are saying, if Louis C.K. dropped by, I wouldn't let him on my show. If he dropped by one of my shows, I'd definitely let him on.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Because people are there to see comedy. They're not there to see a celebrity.
Right.
We're not going to hold Louis C.K. up to, political office level. It's just oh, well, he shouldn't say stuff like this. As far as a comedic line, I think there is one, but you should cross that every now and then. Now, as far as political correctness,
kind of establish where that line is, or just so you know,
a lot of people are going to have opinions on where that line is.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be different for everybody.
Absolutely. And whatever line people think there is, you should potentially cross, if not teeter that, because people are going to be talking about it. Him coming out and talking about all this, has only helped Louis. It has only a political correctness. This is not a popular opinion on other comics. This is my own personal opinion. Political correctness has only helped comedy.
Yeah.
Because it has given folks a new line to cross. Mm-hmm. And what people could say in the 90s, people are considering they can't say. And if people say that kind of stuff, they're oh, he's edgy and all this other stuff. And that person, he or she, will gain the attention.
Right.
So if anything...
I mean, those were always the big headline in comics. Eddie Murphy was edgy. George Carlin was edgy. Louis C.K. was edgy. Bill Burr was
Andrew Dice Clay.
Oh, yeah.
Andrew Dice Clay would literally say on stage that he would kill faggots.
Yep.
That's literally what he would say. And
although I don't feel like it was as edgy as it's way more edgy now. Way more edgy.
Absolutely. And Eddie Murphy, he would start off with say, faggots can't look at my ass.
Yeah.
And that's how he would start off a set, and nobody would say a damn thing. Mm-hmm. Now with that, if you say just something a little bit close to that, you garner the attention.
Yeah.
So if anything, that gives you a new line. And if you don't want to cross that line, that gives a comic an opportunity to write a little more creatively.
Yeah.
And to just tweak stuff around. Even Louis, when he's performed, and they told him to be PG-13, stuff that he was talking about jerking off his dick or whatever, he would twist around and then make it a little more creative for PG-13.
Yeah.
And it's while still being disturbing, but that's how good the man is.
Yeah.
Now, I think no other comic is hotter than Dave Chappelle right now.
Yeah.
As far as Netflix special wise, but I mean the same thing with Chappelle. Chappelle's not doing anything different than what he was doing 20 years ago.
Right.
And we absolutely love him for it.
Mm-hmm.
Some comics we don't want them. We want them maybe change personally.
Yeah.
And they're oh, Louis should grow as a human being, but material wise, we don't want him to change.
Right.
Exactly.
So looks like we're coming close to an end. Is there one comedian that, other than yourself, that you would recommend? Someone an up and coming person, locally or nationally, that you're oh, you got to check out this guy. And I'm totally asking because I want to check him out.
I would say definitely Alan Fitzgerald.
Alan Fitzgerald.
Alan Fitzgerald is one of those old school comics, like similar to what you described in the 80s and 90s. Like he doesn't say like faggot or anything like that, but like he teeters on the line of racism so much that is creatively like a beautiful painting. Mm-hmm. Like this man just researches his racism.
Okay.
And just anyone I ask about him, you either love him or hate him. There is zero in between.
Yeah.
I have 4 sisters. 2 of them hate him. 2 of them love him. And just watching him grow as a comic and just like seeing people that have been on TV be jealous of this man.
Yeah.
It's just absolutely amazing. So out of the entire New England comedy scene, Alan Fitzgerald, I believe, out of anyone, I'm not saying he's the only one, but he has the it factor.
Yeah, he's the one to check out.
Yep.
Nice.
And Alan, like, he was in rehab for about a year.
Okay.
And got out, and all of a sudden he got more amazing, which he was already amazing.
Yeah.
It's just like he went from Majin Buu to Kid Buu. And all of a sudden, he just...
I don't understand what the hell that was.
Fish is laughing.
Is that an anime reference or a
No,
video
I'm
game
just
thing?
laughing at watching the reference just scream over Andy's head.
Is that an anime thing?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's Dragon Ball Z.
Dragon
thing,
Ball
Andy.
Z? All right.
So someday when you're younger.
Hadoken? That's a word, right?
But Alan Fitzgerald, I definitely recommend checking out. One other person, this guy, Casey Crawford, he looks homeless.
Okay.
We booked him on a show, and the owner was literally going to kick him out when he walked in. He's wearing like a beat up, like a hunter's cap, and he's wearing a twin starter jacket. And then the owner was about ready to kick him out, but then he saw him talk to me, and he's like, "Oh, he's a comic." And the month after that, he was on Jimmy Kimmel.
Oh no shit.
Because like this guy can beast.
Yeah.
And then one other person. Check out definitely Sarah Martin. I think she's highly underrated, and definitely should be booked on more clubs. As far as headliners go, extremely reliable. We'll give you a solid set every time, and a cool person to hang with in general. I could go on, but I'll leave it at that 3. Fuck everyone else. Shout out to everyone else.
And where can people go to check you out, check out your shows, find out information about you?
Let's see. So the Red Nun we do twice a month.
And where's that located on the Cape?
Dennisport, Main Street, Dennisport, and that is the 2nd and 4th Thursday of the month. January 10th. That Thursday, we're actually having Christine Hurley, who won Nick at Night's Funniest Mom.
Yeah, we know Christine.
Christine, she is... she's a treat.
When I first moved to Plymouth, we used to hang out Fridays where she waited tables. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's a sweetheart.
Oh, yeah. She's first-class human being, first-class comic.
Yeah.
And then after that, we have Rob Steen from Headliners Comedy Club. He'll be headlining that. I don't have the stones to headline myself at my own shows, but I love it when people ask me to do that.
Yeah,
just because, like you were saying before, we get a lot of the same people that show up.
Right.
Ultimately, I try to switch up my set every time. And then we are paperback comedy. If you're looking for something like corporate or you want a private event, birthday party,
funeral,
funerals, negotiating price on. If you want your buddy to
divorce
be roasted.
Proceedings.
Well, I actually do weddings too, and this jacket I'm wearing, I actually emceed a wedding yesterday, and then I'm officiating another wedding Friday, and I've literally done 4 gigs in a row with this within a week, so it smells just a little bit, but at least it's not my work stuff, and yeah, you literally look up Boston comedian wedding officiant. I'm the only one that pops up. I've cornered the market.
Nice.
Now, before we go, who are the other comics that you've had on? I am curious.
We had Alessandra Grima. She's from Rhode Island, but she's the only one we've had on so far. So you're
oh
number
wow!
2. I mean, we bounce all over the creative world, so We were looking to get another comic in.
Yeah, if you definitely want to have on more, I'll send some
Oh,
people.
absolutely.
Like,
We're always looking for guests.
Yeah, like those three and then some. I'll definitely send this way.
Just don't let them hear our podcast beforehand, because then they'll be like, no.
well, knowing Alan, die every second, but yeah, Alan.
Yeah. Well, AJ, go fuck yourself. Shout out to AJ. That's how it's done, right?
And Fish,
Yeah.
you're doing great. And then
So he's being nice to you, so that means he doesn't like you.
yeah. and if you die, I'll feel nothing.
Thank you.
But if you die, I'll make it all about me.
Awesome.
And, just
Well,
like
I
he
hope
confessed so much to me. He confessed murders, and
I hope you play my funeral. That'd be fantastic.
yeah, because nobody wants to pay for your tombstone.
No.
It's just like they'll have the fucking pepperoni pizza, and
I'll be in a Folgers coffee can, you know. But no, thanks again. This was a lot of fun.
No,
And,
this has been a blast.
Yeah, and so hopefully our listeners will check you out.
Yeah, this was a nice little NPR meeting. This is for NPR, and I'm glad I'm taking over as your co-host. This is being paid, right? $500.
Yeah, you can fish pay him. Yeah, that we don't pay him.
do you PayPal? Send me through plenty of fish.
What is it? Vimo? No,
Venmo?
Venmo. Get off my lawn.
This is like I'm 44 years old. I'm too old. I'm gonna go out to the pasture and just walk.
I gotta go watch some Dragon Ball Z. So, all right. So, thanks again.
Hey, thanks for having me.
All right. All right. Thanks for listening to our podcast. Don't forget to check out our other podcast. There's the Bar Talk podcast. There's Old Colony Cast. And, of course, the Inebri-art podcast along with Jam Packed. You can find all those on Stitcher, iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube, pretty much anywhere podcasts are found. If you're on some sort of service and you can't find it, let us know, and we'll help you out and or add our podcast to that, too. You can contact us at Inebri-art@yahoo.com and follow us on Facebook as well as Twitter at Inebri-art. And feel free to send us some tips, ideas, advice, hate mail, whatever it is, you can get us there. And again, thanks for listening.